I'm my own producer, so sometimes I forget things. All right, we are beginning on YouTube and all those other channels right now, and my guest is tonight again, Philip the Evangelist. Sorry about the technical difficulties. I'm gonna fire my producer and try to hire me a new one right away. Okay, everybody happy? Thank you. Go ahead, Philip.
Well, and so anyway, to tell all the listeners out there, we're talking about the Kennedy assassination, and we're talking about the rise of shortwave radio. And the WWCR in Nashville, Tennessee, became very, very famous under Bill Cooper. And so anyway, everybody was rushing out to get the shortwave radio. Well, of course, Bill Clinton was coming out in the early 90s saying that Clinton was saying that Bill Cooper was the most dangerous man in America. So it was very obvious that
The
the
CIA thought so too.
Oh well, yeah, because Bill Cooper was the one that was saying that he was dealing with the hard nosed question or the answers about Oklahoma City and the Branch Davidians. He was the one that blew the whistle on Clinton being involved in blowing up Oklahoma City too. And then, of course, what made him really, really get famous is because he was working for the Office of Naval Intelligence, and he heard the admirals over talking that Kennedy was killed by the Secret Service. And when I heard that, I literally started laughing, thinking he was the most insane man in America.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, because who would have ever believed that Clint Hill and the very Secret Servicemen were the ones that carried out the assassination of John F. Kennedy? And of course, I did not know this, but Jim Garrison believed that too. Jim Garrison was the first one that brought the indictment. Of course, the movie JFK, which I know Robert Groden too, the one that consulted Oliver Stone when they made the movie JFK, because I'm here in Dallas. You understand, I've lived in Dallas all my life, so I'm very familiar. I know every conspiracy expert on the JFK assassination because I've been doing Elvis for 20 years in Dealey's Plaza. So I met them all. I know them all. I know all the crackpots, nut cases, even to the one where Carlos Marcello was in the storm drain, the mafia guy. They said that he was the one that made the fatal shot. There was a guy in the storm drain underneath the limousine in front that made the fatal headshot. So Bill Clinton Bill Cooper was bringing all that on, and it was the most exotic, craziest, sociopath.
Well, that was about the time I was starting in radio too. About 1995 was when I started my radio debut. I went.
That's exactly right. And it was just crazy. It was completely insane how overnight shortwave radio and WWCR just exploded after the Branch Davidians and after the Oklahoma City bombing. Then you had all these other guys that started getting famous on cable access. That was before Alex Jones came on to the scene. He was a kid.
We had cable access. We had pirate or low power FM radios all over the place. People were putting them up, and we just started. I was one of the founding members of Truth Radio Network. So we started our own satellite radio network, and he was on. Bill Cooper was on there for a while. All of them were. All of those guys were on First Amendment. I mean, on Truth Radio Network for a while, on our satellite, because we got them from wherever they were. They would get on satellite, and then they would go to all their affiliates and the shortwave from us, because we had two satellite uplinks.
And so you're saying that was in 1995?
That was in 1995 to the early part of this this century. I mean, of this to shortly after 2000. Yeah. And then the satellite dropped off because the internet's really started taking off. We didn't need satellite anymore.
Well, you know, when you think about it, Bill Cooper was almost like you are right now with dispensationalism.
Oh.
He was about the only voice crying in the wilderness that was dealing with the conspiracy of the Oklahoma City bombing. He was dealing with Mena. You remember all the people that Clinton killed.
Yeah, those are the things that we were dealing with, too. And there were a few other shows. There was KHNC Radio and others that were dealing with some of those same issues. But really, Bill Cooper was the guy who broke it all out, you know, that started it. So.
Well, yeah, and so the question is that is also when Colonel James Bogratz was the one that ordered a citizen arrest of the FBI agent that shot Randy Weaver's wife. You remember the former Green Beret, the Rambo?
Oh, yeah, I remember he was on Truth Radio Network, too. They all were.
Okay, so you're saying then that Truth Radio was simulcasting with WWCR.
That's right. Yeah, they would call in, and we would put them on satellite, and then WWCR would pick it up off the satellite. So they would be on our network and on satellite and WWCR.
So you basically pioneered that satellite system then in '95.
Yeah, because we had a stereo satellite uplink, and I split it up into two mono feeds, so we could have two networks at the same time. You know, two feeds going up at the same time.
And well, let me ask you this. Well, then you do remember when Art Bell became very famous out there in Nevada.
Well, we never handled Art Bell, though. Yeah. But, yeah, I do remember Art Bell, but we never handled him on our satellite. There were other people that had satellite feeds, too, so we weren't the only ones.
Okay, well, now, okay. Yeah. Here's the thing. Art Bell was not on WWCR. Art Bell was on regular AM radio.
Yeah, that's right. He was. Yeah.
Okay. So what really got exciting is when all these other guys started coming on WWCR. You had Bogratz, you had Tex Mars. They all got famous overnight on WWCR.
Yeah.
And really, they all got famous based off the Oklahoma City bombing. I mean,
yeah, that's pretty much where it all began.
Yeah, and so you got to understand that I'm from Shawnee, Oklahoma. So that was about the most apocalyptic, most devastating thing that ever happened.
Yeah, and it just didn't stop coming, you know, with all that stuff didn't stop coming. And then there was the Branch Davidian thing, and then there was the 911 thing. And that's where YouTube got famous and really took off with 911 and Loose Change.
Yeah.
Remember all that stuff, yeah.
That was that liberal guy that put out the Loose Change. He was that left-wing version of the Hegelian dialectic, I think, that put out. Wait, I remember Loose Change. I thought it was the liberal guy, the one that used to always expose George W. Bush as nothing but a conservative rhino. No, I'm sorry. I'm screwed up. Let me just move forward past Loose Change.
Yeah, move past Loose Change.
Okay, so anyway, here I was, an evangelist all over the country. Well, my Lord, I was meeting these guys. I mean, my Lord, I'd go to Austin, and the next thing you know, I mean, Tex Mars was inviting me in his office, and because I was working, I had a player in the NFL that was playing for the Dallas Cowboys. That gave me tremendous prestige. I had a guy that was playing for the Dallas Cowboys that I was representing as an agent. So I was like Jerry Maguire. You know, I was like Tom Cruise in the movie Because see, being an agent back in the 90s for an NFL player, that was pretty much in its early stages too. And so my best friend that I led to Christ became a professional football player. He was a great wide receiver for Jim Harbaugh's dad, Jack Harbaugh, and Anthony and I went to my high school. And the next thing you know, he's driving up in a $75,000 Mercedes and screaming, and my mom and dad are just going crazy. And he was drafted by the San Francisco 49ers. And then the Cowboys picked it up when Jimmy came in. And of course, we did not know the Cowboys were going to go to the Super Bowl that year. So anyway, I go down to Austin, and at that time, Alex Jones was only a little kid. He was on cable access, but Tex Mars was already a WWCR shortwave giant. I mean, you remember his show? It was a World of Prophecy. Do you remember? This is Tex Mars. He talked like Santa Claus, and we're here to talk about the world of prophecy. And so anyway, I'm going to move forward. I don't want to ramble. I just want to try to go forward with this mess and try to put closure on the Alex Jones thing and fast forward this thing. So anyway, I meet Tex, and Tex and I became really, really good friends. Now, I don't remember whether Tex was a dispensationalist or not. I know that he had a horrible debate with Eric John Phelps. And Eric John Phelps wrote him a letter and accused him of being a Jesuit coadjutor. Oh. And they went after it on live radio.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
Eric John Phelps would tell he was mad at him because Tex was saying the Jews are going to go to hell if they don't receive Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah. And, Eric John Phelps has a thing about Jews. He's almost a Jew worshiper.
Yeah, so he called up.
But that's true, if they don't accept Jesus Christ, they're going to hell. That's the truth.
Well, that's exactly what Tex would say.
Yeah.
He'd say, we talk about the Vatican, we talk about this, and we talk about that, but let's just come right out, folks, and admit the Jews are going to hell if they don't receive Jesus. I don't care. With what they just passed in the House, that might be illegal speech. They just passed that anti-Semitism speech law. So if you say Jews are going to hell, you might get in trouble. Well, and sometimes I'm just wondering. Well, see, I never heard of Johnny Zerucci till you brought him on.
Oh, really?
Johnny? Oh, no, I never did. I didn't know who he was. First time I heard of Johnny Zerucci, it was when you and him went on. Very smart guy. He knew how to do that computer good. I mean, he's a very and when you brought him on, it just lit me up that you had brought on somebody like him.
Huh.
And I did not know. And, he was talking about how he lived only 15 minutes away from Eric John Phelps up there in Pennsylvania, which I've preached all in that area. And it's completely controlled by the Jesuit order.
Hmm.
I mean, I literally had to have Jesuits help me with money to get out of the state of Pennsylvania. Literally, it was probably Jesuit priests there at Gettysburg, all in that area around Gettysburg. See, I was a full-time evangelist when Tina and I, that picture you see with me and my little baby, I preached with Pat Robertson in that picture, and then I was up there with Jerry Falwell, and I got there and I started getting stressed out because I couldn't find any Protestant churches, and there I was stuck at Gettysburg, which of course is exactly where Eric John Phelps lives, is right up there in that Newmansport area, and that area is the most demonic Jesuit area in America. Right where Eric John Phelps lives.
Oh, well, I'm not surprised.
Oh, yeah. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Well, but anyway, Well, yeah. When I went to Gettysburg, I was still built up really well, and I went to Appomattox Courthouse, and I had that Rambo look, and I was still in the prime of my life. Had a beautiful wife, beautiful little girl, and the next thing you know, I'm stuck there at Gettysburg, and I told my wife, I said, you better start praying, because I hadn't found a church for about 30 miles outside of these crazy Catholic churches around here, which is around the battlefield.
Yeah.
Because her mother lived there in Maryland, which is another Jesuit area. I didn't know the place was named after the Virgin Mary. That's why it's called Maryland.
Yeah.
Mary.
That's right. Maryland. Yeah. And you got Virgin. Yeah.
Yeah, the Virgin. You're right.
Yeah. So anyway, there's our music. We got to take a little break here. I'll be back in a few minutes. Everybody, don't go anywhere. Secrets of the Rapture. Is there a 500-year-old conspiracy? A propaganda machine so pervasive and entrenched, yet so elusive that the entire world could be taken in by it, working in plain sight, but unseen by the world for what it truly is? If prophecy is God-given history in advance, why does the prophecy that has conquered the age also exclude nearly 2,000 years of history? What is it that they are afraid that the light of history will reveal? To understand our place in time and prophecy, we must look in history for an interpretation, that which stands the test of time, that which agrees with the Word of God, and history has proven to be true. When cunning fables and fearful speculations are removed from our sight, then we may clearly see what is truly expressed in Bible prophecy, both that which has been fulfilled and that which has yet to come. God's express word is the sword that must be wielded to remove the scales from the eyes and dispel the darkness of deceitful conjecture. Secrets of the Rapture was written to expose that which the spirit of the age has conjured out of the darkness to blind the eyes of the church in the world today. Secrets of the Rapture, Deconstructing Pre-Tribulation Dispensational Futurism by yours truly, Nicholas Arthur, is now available at lulu.com and Amazon. Secrets of the Rapture.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
right. Let's see. We are back, and we're with Philip from Dallas. Philip, a sometime evangelist. So your calling then was to be an evangelist. Is that what you're saying, Philip?
Well, I had a lot of. Well, yeah, I had a from 1981 up till the time I started doing Elvis in 2002. What forced me to get out of the ministry is when my wife left me. I just became very depressed. I didn't want to go through all the criticism of I didn't want to be crucified over being a Baptist evangelist. I was having preachers come through my gate telling me what's wrong with your marriage. I said, it ain't none of your business what's wrong with my marriage. And they said, well, you're a good evangelist. What's happened to you? And all these insane sociopathic preachers within that area around East Texas and Tyler would just blast me. And here I was. Tina had cut and run, and then I married my Filipino wife, and then she left me. And I just told my daughter, I said, look, I'm done with this. I am not going to try to be an evangelist for another day. And my daughter was a teenager. She said, well, Daddy, why don't you just dye your hair? You look old. And so that was about. And God, I didn't know I was going to resume Elvis's career at 42 years old. But that's just about what happened, because I didn't have a clue that I still favored Elvis Presley. Now, I was still thin, so I had I didn't have the old fat face like the picture you saw of me in there. So I was still handsome, and I still had, my hair was still real thick. So I was so depressed when Adiana left me, my wife, that I told my daughter said, well, Daddy, just dye your hair and maybe she'll come back to you. So
that didn't work, did it?
No, it worked. My daughter was prophetic. So what I do is I was depressed one day, and I got up and I drove to Tyler, and I walked in the road, the big old Baptist church there in Tyler, Texas, and I walked into the secretaries and I said, will you ladies help me out? And they already knew what I was going to do. It was almost like they had a prophetic premonition of what I was going to do. And they looked at me and they said, you're going to become Elvis. I said, how'd y'all know? They said, well, because you got that lip. And I said, well, can you women tell me how to dye my hair? And they said, oh gosh, we got to see what you're going to look like. So anyway, I go down there. They give me some kind of jet black hair dye. And I go back there in the gym, and all the guys were in there, and I was still about 190 pounds and still thin. And so all the guys were laughing. They said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I don't want to be a preacher anymore. My wife has left me, and I'm done with it." They said, okay. Well, what are you going to do? I said, so anyway, I dyed my hair, and then all the women started screaming. And the next thing you know, I walk out, and
you got a new career, huh? Doing Elvis.
Well, yeah, it was crazy because I did not know that I favored Elvis that much when I put on the glasses. See, that picture of me that you got, that's me when I'm old. But whenever I first started doing it, I got to get my younger pictures. Oh, it was crazy. Huh. So I couldn't get.
So did you ever make it on the Johnny Carson show?
Oh no, Johnny Carson was already gone because this was in 2002.
Yeah. Hey, I got a question here from Verity in the chat room.
All
right. She says, "Hi Nick, could you please explain what dispensationalism is? I've not been able to find a definition that makes sense. I know it involves futurism and time periods, but not sure the definition. Thanks. What do you think?
Well,
what is dispensationalism? What makes it different than
All right, dispensationalism, the definition of, well, I don't really like to use the word dispensationalism. I'd rather use futurism. But dispensationalism is that God puts an end to the church age and resumes the 70th week, restoring the kingdom of Israel.
Yeah.
It's in other words, dispensationalism is where he takes the church out, and then in the 4th chapter of the book of Revelation, he resumes the restoration of the literal Jew from chapter 4 going into the end of the book of Revelation in the 70th week. How is that for in other words, it's all based on the fact that God has two programs, the church and the literal nation of Israel, are the restoration of the Jewish people.
Yeah.
And so the dispensation of the church age is taken out in the pre-tribulational rapture, I guess, according to what John Walvoord, that's pretty much the Bible of DTS, what I'm saying right now.
Right.
And
John Walvoord, the rapture question, yeah. The rapture Bible, I call it.
Well, of course, Dr. Bell used to say, well, they're idiots because the book's not in chronological order. And so basically what they're saying, if the book is in chronological order, God ends the dispensation. The word means change, that he's changing the age.
Okay,
again.
Dispensationalism as it exists today, dispensational futurism is different than just plain dispensationalism. Because a lot of dispensationalism, well, they'll just go, well, there's always been different dispensations or ages in the world. And so they try to minimize the effect of what dispensational futurism is. Because dispensational futurism, when you put them together, then you're getting to the crux of the matter. They take, and they want to juxtapose the 70th week of Daniel, and they have to add a gap to the scripture where there is none, and say that the 70th week didn't happen, didn't follow the 69th week. I don't know exactly what week did follow the 69th week in their program, but it wasn't the 70th, because that's yet to happen in the future. And God's a little mixed up because he said 70 weeks, but he's going to separate them by an unknown period of time. But that's dispensationalism, saying the Jewish dispensation was not over after the 70 weeks ended, because they say the last week had a gap before it, and that the dispensation is going to reappear for 7 years. The Jewish dispensation, which was supposed to be over after the end of the 70 weeks, is going to reappear for one more week, for the final week before Christ comes. And God's going to deal with the Jews separately. That's what they're saying. And if you don't believe in that, then they call you, what was the name they call you? Replacement theology. They accuse you of replacement theology. But see, I believe in fulfillment theology, because I believe that Jesus fulfilled the 70th week, and that his establishment of the church for the last 2,000 years is the fulfillment of every prophecy that was given to the patriarchs and the Jewish nation. And also what is still yet to come, the future millennial reign, that will also be a fulfillment of all of the promises made to the patriarchs and the Jewish nation, and also the new heaven and new earth with the new Jerusalem and the eternal state after that is also a fulfillment. So that's why I say I believe in fulfillment theology, but not dispensational theology, where they break off and separate the last week of the Jewish dispensation. Now, when Daniel said 70 weeks are determined, that was it. It was determined. When the 70th week ended, national Israel lost its status, and the 70th week belonged to the Messiah. It wasn't skipped, okay? And we're still waiting for it to happen in the future. As a matter of fact, up until about 200 years ago, the church, all of the church, believed that the 70th week was fulfilled by the Messiah in the first century. They believed the 70th week followed the 69th week, or the prophecy wasn't true. If the 70th week didn't follow the 69th week, then the prophecy was false, and God's word was wrong. And that's why they have to do God a favor. Well, we're doing God a favor. We're putting a gap in there for him. In other words, they're adding a gap to the Bible between the 69th and the 70th week where there is not one. So they're doing God a favor because, that all the prophecy wasn't fulfilled. That's what they say. But I know it was fulfilled because God is not a liar and his word is true, and it came to pass in the 70 weeks, the 490 contiguous years, that as it was prophesied. And that's what dispensational futurism is about. That's what is different from what was believed before 200 years ago. That idea about breaking off the 70th week, that was proposed in the 2nd century by Irenaeus, but it never got legs until the 19th century.
Well, and I want to share this with you also. One of the things that I think is very ironic is that DTS will never tell you that it was Jesuit theologians by the name of Cardinal Bellarmine and Alcatar and Francisco Ribera that created the doctrine of dispensationalism.
Yeah.
Do you really think that John Walford and Dr. Paige Patterson, see, and that's where I put the wood on Scott today. I said, look, man, we were there, and you know how W.A. Criswell would roll in all the dispensational movie stars, Tim LaHaye and all of them. Scott said, yeah, I know. Scott told me today, you're right. He'd bring them in just like they're rock stars. But notice that DTS will never tell you that the theology and the eschatology was created by Jesuit theologians in the Council of Trent. Now, isn't that ironic?
Well, of course they're not going to tell you that.
Well, listen to this. I just recently came to, I'll be honest with you, if it wasn't for the internet, it blew my mind when I found out that Cardinal Bellarmine and Francisco Ribera were the ones that created. A lot of times, for about the first 40 years after I was set free, I was led to believe that Edward Irwin and the Plymouth Brethren were the ones that created dispensationalism.
Well, no, that's where the pre-trib rapture sprang up.
Yeah, you're talking about John Nelson Darby and Edward Irvin.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the Scottish Margaret MacDonald, and that she was the one who had the first vision of a pre-tribulation rapture. So that came later. But, those are just things that they built on the foundation laid by Ribera in 1570 or 1590, whenever it was, about that time that he came up with his end-time Antichrist thesis. The pre-trib rapture was added to it later in the 19th century, because before that, no one had ever heard of the pre-trib rapture.
Well, yeah, and see, and this is the problem that I have with Jimmy Swaggart, just like I told Scott today. Scott and Jimmy are good friends, which I've met Jimmy once. Jimmy has wrote a book on Roman Catholicism, but Jimmy will tell you that there will be the rapture and that the Antichrist will be Jewish. And I said, Scott, we need to go and debate him about that. Because actually, whenever I talked to Scott and I were on the phone today for about 2 hours, I was really shocked. I said, I did not know that you recanted from dispensationalism. I'm still sort of leery, like, all right, buddy, you wait till you get here in Dallas, and you wait till I grill you. Because, see, Scott and I, we've been friends since we've been kids. We both started out in Bible college together. We were both 18 years old.
So, hey, Philip.
And go ahead.
So, what do you think about doing your own broadcast?
Well, the only thing, well, if I did a broadcast, you're talking about on First Amendment. You're talking about like what Tom Press does, like the way Tom had his own.
Well,
show.
what we're doing right now, what I usually do, except you filling the hour.
Well, yeah, but here's the problem though. What's really good is we kick the ball back and forth to each other. That's what I think is dynamic. In other words, instead of just doing a monologue, I think it's pretty cool the way that we host each other back and forth. I don't know. I like the duo that we're doing. I mean, if you think a monologue is good, that's okay. But I think what it does, it amps up our dynamics when we're throwing the ball back and forth. It's like we're playing badminton with dispensationalism, because I think we've got good chemistry. Because in many ways, I feel like your communication skills slows me down. In other words, I get to talking like I'm going to start speaking in tongues, and then when you come in there, you've got more of that lower. It's sort of like you slow down the dialogue between both of us. But I know that I had another radio guy in 1989, and we got pretty successful on Access Radio, and we were exposing the Vatican. But Gilbert was a Seventh-day Adventist, and I just got to a point where I started wanting to choke on that stupid Saturday Day Sabbath crap that they get into. I'd say, look.
Oh yeah, well, and the investigative judgment. Don't forget that.
Well, let me just say this, because I've dealt with a Seventh-day Adventist radio guy that's like Tom Press. My guy Gilbert was, when we first went on radio together doing like you and I. And I really got to the point where I said, Gilbert, I wish you would shut up about the Seventh-day Sabbath, because I'm a Baptist evangelist. And what you do is you ruin our dialogue when you start going, and now you need to keep the Saturday night Saturday Sabbath. And I'm just sitting there saying, I'm rolling my eyes with him when we're in the radio station. And I told Adiana, I said, I really get tired of that. I just don't want to be a part of that no more. And that's the problem that I have with these characters. I agree with Johnny Zerucci about that, because I did the same thing. I don't know why they get stuck on that crazy Sabbath crap. Because Gilbert was pretty smart, but they act like that is the essence of salvation.
That's what they believe. That's why they act like it is, because that's what they believe. And that's when, at first Tom has started having Seventh-day Adventists on, and I told him I couldn't have them on the network leading people astray. I says,
I agree.
You need to do the Vatican, the thing that you're doing, the Reformed Protestant, and exposing the Vatican. I said, that's what you're good at, Tom. And these Seventh-day Adventists are just taking you, carrying away from that. And then he totally went off into it and started attacking people for singing in church on Sunday. This is the day that the Lord hath made. I'm just going. I said, that ain't right. You can't beat people up because they sing a certain song on church on Sunday. The New Testament says that we're not supposed to judge each other on day keeping, and that's expressed.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And explicit in the text. And I said, you can't do that here. That's not Reformed. That's not Protestant. That's Seventh-day Adventist.
You know what You know what I would say to Tom? I'd say, you're off, dude. You're off. Look, you're a great communicator. It's great the way you read the books, but you are literally off your rocker the way you fanaticize. You're as bad as Eric John Phelps, the way that he preaches
well,
white supremacy.
That's why he's off of First Amendment Radio. He left.
Well,
because he wanted the freedom to do that, and I said, "This is Protestant, Reformed Protestant radio, and the Scripture tells us that we can't do that to each other. That we don't have the right to judge others on keeping of days." And so I says,
let me just say this to you, because I got to address this to you because Scott and I, Dr. Scott Camp and I, which, Scott is very renowned. He just preached for Rod Parsley. So he swims with Daystar and he swims with TBN. And, I don't really know why he wants to come on the radio with you and I. I really have a little bit of a red flag because Scott, he preaches in, he's right now in Africa. He comes back here. Everybody wants him. I mean, he's a good-looking guy. He's 60 years old. He's a fabulous communicator. But I don't know what the deal is of why. I hope he's just not trying to be a chameleon. Because I was thinking today, if Scott comes on First Amendment Radio and all these guys that he's friends with, like Rod Parsley, he's friends with that other nutcat, Jimmy. He's good friends with Jimmy Swaggart, which he's sort of a Neapolitan evangelist. He'll swim with the fivefold guys, and then he'll swim with Southern Baptists, and then he swings back and forth with everybody and anybody. And for whatever reason, I don't know what the agenda would be of why that he would talk to me today and say, well, Phil, I'm not a dispensationalist anymore, because if he does come out with us, they're going to crucify him. And he's got his own website. He's got his own, he's got his own sermons and everything. I mean, he delivered a fabulous message for Rod Parsley in that church. So here he is, very prominent with all these mega pastors, been very prominent for years, and I don't really understand why all of a sudden he would call me this morning on the phone and say, well, Phil, I'm not a dispensationalist. And it actually sort of hit me flat-footed because I wouldn't dream that he would sit there and be embracing what we're saying.
Well, if he's not a dispensationalist, that doesn't mean that he's, what is he then? An amillennialist?
Well, we're going to find out, aren't we? Well, see, I haven't talked to him in 30 years.
Yeah.
You got to understand, Scott and
I mean, it's very trendy now out there in the world. You got Russell Brand, just got baptized the other day. You know who Russell Brand is?
Yes, know who he is. Heard of him.
And he says he prays the rosary every day.
Yeah, right. Well, you know what? It's just like this other guy that's linked up that used to be the mob boss, Michael Francis, that's all of a sudden he's linked up with Greg Lowry. What's that all about? The guy that was the Godfather guy that's become born again, the one that went to prison, that knew John Gotti and all that.
Well,
and now
at least he's not saying the rosary every day.
Oh no, but what he's doing is he's embracing Greg Lowry's garbage, and he's embracing the restoration of Israel, and he's also embracing the pre-tribulational rapture.
Yeah.
I feel like calling him up on the phone and say, well, you go from one mob family to the other.
Yeah.
So his name is Michael Francis. He was an actually made man for the Gambino family back in the 70s. And he's got very famous on the web, and here he is now worshiping Greg Lowry in Calvary Chapel. So anyway, to get back to the point, so I'm trying to move forward. So here we've got Scott now. My thing is, it's just like with my sisters. Why would my sisters want to be associated with me, to even put that picture of all of us together on First Amendment Radio when they know that I am against the pre-tribulational rapture. I don't even understand why my sister did that. Why she gave you the picture of those two, which are very prominent.
Well, I didn't put those on the radio. I mean, I didn't put those on. So, I mean, I got the pictures, but, you know, usually if you're going to put a picture of someone on that you're talking to, because you can't get a video of them, you'll put an actual picture of them. And not their family or whatever, but...
well, you tell me, you have a picture of me not because I was looking at the screen.
Oh, hey, I don't know if you can hear my music going there, but it's going. So we got to take our end of an hour break here, so we'll be back in a few minutes.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on satellite, internet, or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
Hi, I'm Nicholas Arthur, and I'd like to introduce you to my latest book, Reformed Prophecy Interpretation, an apology for Reformed premillennial historicism in the 21st century. As with primitive biblical Christianity, historicism is the method of prophecy interpretation restored with the advent of the Protestant Reformation, and had become so widely held that for a long time it was called the Protestant view. My book is not so much about the errors of dispensationalism or amillennialism. Rather, it is about the historicist alternative to understanding many of the same passages from the vantage point of prophecy fulfilled in history. For those that desire more than mere hypotheses, bolstered with conjectured speculation, those who require explicit biblical exegesis and verified historical fulfillment, and are not willing to accept speculation as anything other than what it is. Speculation, not truth. This book is for you. Over the last century, this method of interpretation has become almost completely forgotten, even by Protestants, in the face of a method that is based almost entirely on future speculation, rather than fulfilled prophecy in history. In my book, I examine the reasons for this and investigate some of the prophecy which has been fulfilled in the interim, as well as present an apology for Reformed premillennial historicism to the 21st century. If you're interested in a copy of my book, you can go to my website, crosstheborder.org, and get more information there. Or you may also find it at Amazon. Okay, we're back. Let's see. John in the chat room says you have to keep with strict adherence to the Scripture, no loose interpretation. It is not that hard to simply keep it within those bounds. I totally agree. That's right where I want to stay. Strict adherence to the Scripture, no loose interpretations. That's where people start to get into trouble. And also, my friend Jesuit Fiends in the chat room, in the First Amendment Radio chat room, sent me a video. I thought we'd take a little gander at this. This is Alex Jones. Caller exposes the Jesuits on Alex Jones' show. Jones then shills for the Jesuits. You want to hear that? All right. Well, let's play it here. Everybody.
6. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Thanks for taking my call, Alex. With the assisted suicide, the Jesuits and their Knights of Malta and Knight Templar Freemasons, they want to kill off targeted populations with their Jesuit Malthusian model, and especially Protestants, and they don't want any of them to hear the gospel that the Lord Jesus Christ died for our sins and was buried and risen again, and upon our repentance will be born again in the Holy Spirit. The Jesuits
so you think the Jesuits are behind the worldwide eugenics movement? Well, are you saying Thomas Malthus was a Jesuit?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
What
the Jesuit,
was he a Jesuit? Well, guys, look up. Was Malthus a Jesuit? I didn't know that.
Yes, sir. And so the Jesuits want to destroy the Protestant Reformation because first there was the Renaissance, but then came the Protestant Reformation and the Gutenberg Press, where the Bible was given into the hands of the common man. Before that, only the Catholic priest could read the Bible. And so the Jesuit and the Black Pope, they want to bring us back to the Dark Ages, where only they have the knowledge, and they want to hide salvation of the gospel. And so we're all just trapped in Satan's system, his Roman Empire, which is...
Well, let me ask you a question. The federal government just put out a report saying Christians are the number one threat, and they said conservative Catholics are the number one threat within that group. Why would the government put out a report going after conservative Catholics if the Jesuits were trying to kill everybody?
Well, the Jesuits don't control all the Catholics yet, but they are trying to consolidate the Catholics into a new right movement that hates the Jews and wants to persecute, regular people. Like Hitler was a Jesuit, and he modeled his SS after the Jesuit order, him and Himmler. And so this is Operation Paperclip in action that was done through what's called the Vatican rat lines, where they smuggled Nazis through Catholic churches to get here. And so...
Yeah, listen, I appreciate your call, and I'm not a Catholic apologist, so I'm not Catholic. That's not my job. I really think when we say this one group runs everything, that's not fair. Hitler was an occultist and did not like Christianity. He did want to control the Catholic Church to control Europe, and Himmler did model the SS with their black uniforms and things on the Jesuits and wanted to basically take that over. I actually read the writings of the Nazis on that subject. So I think
still there, Nicholas?
Part of what you say is true about Catholic Church helping get a lot of the Nazis out at the U.S. request into the United States.
Oh, you can't
but I
hear
think it was a group effort. And
No,
I
I can't hear it at
blame
It's not coming on my
Catholics in
phone.
general for that. Or say that Adolf Hitler was a Christian or a Catholic. Adolf Hitler was an anti-Christian occultist on record. I appreciate your call.
But I have heard
So
that.
it's interesting that Alex Jesuit covers up for the Jesuits, saying,
Well, I'll be quiet.
the Jesuits, they're not occulted.
Okay, yeah, that was it pretty much. Anyway, this guy was just outing the Jesuits on. Yeah, I'm sorry you couldn't hear that, Philip. I didn't know you wouldn't be able to hear that. So that's a new thing I got to figure out.
Well, no, but I know which one you're. I'm pretty familiar with. He look, man, the Jones guy. I'm like David Knight. I can't figure him out. I mean, good Lord, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Well, anyway, let me tell you the experience I had with him. So anyway, I'm doing Elvis in West End, and looking good that day. I was bringing the crowd. It was on the 50th anniversary of the Kennedy assassination. And, which, of course, Robert Groden would always be selling his papers, the one that consulted for Oliver Stone in the movie JFK. Robert's the one that first showed the Kennedy's head being blown off on the Gerardo Rivera show in 1975. That Robert Groden, the real famous conspiracy theorist. So he'd say, don't get near Alex Jones. And so Alex was down there, and the next thing you know, I'm up on the grassy knoll. Because there were a lot of people there. It was the 50th anniversary of the JFK. Of course,
you were on the grassy knoll?
Yeah, Elvis was on the grassy knoll. And so Alex saw me.
Not with a rifle in his hand, though, I hope. No. It was the 50th anniversary. Oh, okay.
Where they were. So anyway, all the media people were there that day, and I went there to see because I knew I'd make my tips. Doing Elvis, but I don't want to get involved in the conspiracy crap. I just go there because people want me to sing the Elvis music, and I'll make my tips. So lo and behold, I'm there getting my guitar out of the case, and the first I look up, and here comes Alex walking up to me, and he looks like the NBC peacock. He's got 9 phones, 9 little TV cameras sticking out of the top of his head. He looks like the NBC peacock. I'm not kidding you. He had these 9 different cameras on the InfoWars where he's walking around. So what he does, he'll just randomly just impose himself on you, like he's some kind of like Elvis is desperately wanting InfoWars. So what he does, he comes into my space, and I put my hand out and say, hey, no, we're not going here. I'm not going on InfoWars. You're not going to bring Elvis Presley into that. And he said, this is a free area. I said, it might be free, but you're not going to do it around me. You're not going to stick that InfoWars crap in my face. And I was really rude to him. I really felt bad because I broke his heart because he wanted to validate me, but I didn't want to be using Elvis Presley on InfoWars because I knew what he was going to do. He was going to use my exposure because I was still looking very good, and I was in a suit that day. I wasn't shabby that day. I was really looking nice, and Alex knew it, and so Alex wanted to market the Elvis thing in order so he could manipulate it. And I said, you need to move, Jack. And that's the thing that I don't like about him. And it's the same thing that was carried out on January the 6th, where what he does, he just bulldogs himself on everybody. He just imposes himself. I'm Alex Jones. That's the way. No, comment to what I'm saying. Do you agree?
Alex is just an unregenerate man out there in the world trying to make money. Period.
Well, yeah.
And if the Jesuits can use him, they will use him. He's one of their useful idiots.
Well,
how about that?
Well, I agree with you, but the problem that I don't understand is why do all these big shots want to go on the show with him?
Because they get exposure on his show.
Yeah, but why would Donald Trump and Roger Stone and all these other clowns want to be associated with him when I know
numbers, man, numbers. It's the world.
Yeah, but he gets everybody on the show.
Yeah,
everybody that's anybody will come on that stupid InfoWars, and a lot of people have told me, well, Bill Cooper exposed him, said he ain't nothing but a CIA shill. He called him up on the phone. He said, "You're nothing but a shill.
Yeah,
you're a liar and you're a shill."
Well, his handlers would never allow him to have me on there.
Oh, you're talking about Genesis Communication Network.
No, Genesis Communications Network is shut down.
Well, I know, but I thought they were the ones that sponsor Alex Jones.
Well, yeah, they did in the beginning, but he broke off and went on his own. He became bigger. Okay. He became bigger than Genesis Communications Network.
Well,
see, you know why Genesis Communications Network went under? It's because they couldn't make enough money to pay everyone's salaries.
Okay, so well, you're right. But let me ask you this question: why does he always get up there? I'm going to tell you one of the things that really, really makes me mad about him, and I'll tell you why ain't you dead, Alex? We know that they killed Bill Clinton. We know that they killed Bill Cooper. We know that. Well, he keeps saying, they're going to kill me. They're threatening to kill me. So you're saying that all that BS, that how they're going to kill him over Sandy Hook and all that, you're saying it's just complete BS to get ratings, is what you're telling me.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he makes me sick. So you're saying that the whole thing with them chasing him and the men in black are after him and he gets death threats, and what about all these so-called multi-million-dollar lawsuits that what was it that the Sandy Hook judge wanted him to pay something like $500 million? So you're saying that all of that is nothing but a false flag, basically being carried out by the deep state.
I don't know. Does it look like Alex Jones is worried about it?
I think he's nothing but a pathological liar. I think he's working for the deep state. I think that he's a liar. I think he's a liar about people trying to kill him. Whenever they did kill Bill Cooper, and it was Bill Cooper that was the one that exposed the towers that came down, but yet Alex comes out and they all say that he was the one that prophesied 9/11. And so, to me, you and I have been at this for a long, long time. I've been an evangelist for 40 years, and I can smell a rat. And trust me, he is one. But the question is, why do all these – okay, like look at January 6th. Why it was obvious that InfoWars promoted all those people to go to that January 6th protest crap.
Yep.
And notice that when they all got there, Alex cuts and runs just like Jesuit Donald J. Trump. Why did they all cut and run, and why did they let those poor people there be exposed to the FBI agents that had infiltrated that to instigate them to run into the Capitol building? Why is it that Alex wasn't there, and why didn't Trump get out of the limousine and lead the charge like George Washington if they're not Jesuit shills?
Well, what's the answer?
The bottom line, it's, in my opinion, if I called him on the phone right now, I'd say, you are part of the Hegelian dialectic. You have your part in playing controlled opposition. You are no different from Eric John Phelps and all the rest of you clowns that are posing yourselves to be against the New World Order when all you're doing is setting up everybody that is a conservative, that is a true born-again Christian, to a slaughter and an inquisition. That's exactly what I think is happening with every single one of them. Roger Stone. Now, I don't want to say that Joe Rogan, and I don't, Aaron Rodgers just got to say, but look at all the people now that Alex is reaching that now are his big fan base.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense to you that he's got that kind of popularity, and yet you are putting out the truth, and you don't get the ratings, and you're 50 times better than he is, but yet that ranting idiot is the most famous talk radio. He thinks he's Rush Limbaugh on steroids, in my opinion.
Well, to be notoriously banned is an oxymoron. because you actually get more notoriety. Just like what's happening with Trump right now. He's getting more notoriety, more famous, more following, because they're giving him more and more airtime. You'll never hear about First Amendment Radio anywhere, on any mainstream anything that's controlled by the Antichrist and his shadow government. You'll never even hear about it.
Well, yeah, and not only that, think about this. You know,
check this out, okay? I have 2 YouTube channels. I have my own Prophecy Reality channel, and I have a First Amendment Radio channel on YouTube. Okay, I can put the same broadcast on both of those channels at the same time, and I'll get a strike on my channel, my Prophecy Reality channel, but the YouTube channel, they'll just take it down but won't give me a strike.
Okay, so
they don't want any claim to fame for First Amendment Radio at all. They'll never ban First Amendment Radio, but they'll make sure that nobody sees it. That most people on Earth will never even see First Amendment Radio.
So basically, you do get the Bill Cooper treatment. Do you truly believe that the Jesuits did kill him? You know, the so-called thing was they were coming up. I don't know what the deal was. That he pulled out his gun and started firing at the police officers.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure they meant to kill him that day, but they did. Yeah.
So you definitely believe that they did want to put a hit on Bill Cooper, where Alex
I think they wanted to silence Bill Cooper. I think that the death was somebody acting on their own or going beyond their instructions, because it brought more attention to him. But at least I guess they did shut him up.
And so, okay, but I want you to listen to this. They want to get me just like they got Bill Cooper. Here's how he rambles every day now. They're coming after me. They're going to shut us down. Please buy our products. Please, you got to buy Dr. Jones's products, because they're going to shut us down in 2 weeks. This is the way that stupid psychopath.
Wow, you do a pretty good Alex Jones.
In other words, the more narcissistic you get, and the more demon-possessed you are, and when you go into the Alex Jones rage, that's how to get the ratings. In other words, he's an absolute maniac,
yeah.
And so that.
Well,
so
he knows that
everything
they've done supposedly against him has only made him more famous. That's all there is to it.
So that's the back. Okay,
they're never going to come after me like that.
Well, no, because you're not Machiavellian enough. If you become Machiavellian, like Trump and Alex Jones, yeah, they'll come after you. See, Alex is completely.
Well, then I wouldn't be me.
Well, they might come after me because I can get pretty Machiavellian. I'm not saying I'm as crazy as Alex Jones, but if I get a few beers under my belt, I can. You hear what I'm saying? I'll go outside linebacker. So I mean, I knew how to put a hit on people in college football. But notice that he goes into that alpha male monster mode, and you're saying that's what makes him famous, is because he goes into that alpha male animal mode.
No, that's what he chooses to do with his fame. But what's made him famous is to be notoriously banned. I mean, look, he calls his thing ban.video now. He wears it like a badge, because it is. In the same way that Trump is now wearing all his persecution from as a badge.
Well, now the question that I want to ask you from an accurate
now,
standpoint,
if persecution is real, they keep it quiet and they don't let anybody know what's going on. Kind of like what they're doing to the January 6th people that they have in prison, and they've had it in prison all this time. A lot of them without even going to court yet.
Well, that's right. So you're basically saying the Inquisition has already started because those people are still in a Washington prison right now.
Yeah,
they're still in the Washington Gulag.
Well, definitely, they're part of the Inquisition. Yeah.
Now, do you believe that Alex was a Jesuit coadjutor with Donald? See, I see. This is where my sister will literally go bananas if I say it. I do not believe that Donald Trump is legitimately against the deep state. And I will tell you why, and you will agree. Because he's already friends with the Archbishop Cardinal Dolan of New York City.
Donald Trump is friends with everybody.
well, yeah, but
Hillary Clinton,
this.
You name it, he's friends with them. He likes them
all.
All
right. So basically what you're doing, he's playing the Hegelian dialectic.
Well, look, Donald Trump is another unregenerate, ungodly man who has no spiritual feeling in his life whatsoever. No life there at all. Okay? And and all he cares about is what he obviously cares about, what he's obviously after. Fame, fortune, and he wants to do great things. He wants to be known as a great man. And if he can save America and get that fame at the same time, I think Donald Trump is about as transparent as he appears to be. Seriously. But he's also a useful idiot. Because look what they did in 2020 with him in office. And they ran the White House and every administration. They ran the deep state while he was in office. I think while he was in office, it was really Barack Obama's third term. And now we're in Barack Obama's fourth term with Joe Biden.
But here's the thing that really gets to me. They will sit there and they will talk about how Barack Obama has worshipped Saul Lewinsky's rules for radicals, but it's okay that Alex does the same thing on the right-wing side. See, that's what makes me sick. I'll say, look, you're as sorry. You are as much of a radical deep stater as how you expose Obama as being. Don't you give me the crap about the Great Reset, Jack, when you are part of it. And then the thing about when he goes into the Bohemian Grove, as if that he just walked in there and they didn't let him go in there. Do you really think that you can go into the Bohemian Grove when it's supposed to be controlled by what? What is it, the CFR or the?
Well, that was all arranged just to help him get his fame and you know, because a lot of these Jesuits are what you call deep fakes, and they're in your Protestant denomination churches, they're in your evangelical churches, they're in universities teaching. We have one as a governor in California, and Alex Jones is one too. Alex Jones is definitely deep fake, and so is Eric John Phelps. Deep fake, very deep fake, because they get notoriety. They get lots of notoriety and fame for being opposite of what a Jesuit would be, you would think, but they gain their notoriety. But at the same time, there's telltale signs that they are deep fakes. Because one, they're all unregenerate.
Have you read his book, Vatican Assassins?
I have his book, Vatican Assassins. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't read the whole thing. Have you seen that book? That sucker's it's 10 inches thick.
Well, the thing of it is, he's got a lot of great data in there. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, definitely. That's why I have it in my library. It is full of great data, you know, data, whatever you say.
Yeah, but you know where he got it all, don't you? He got it from Chick Publications. All of that stuff, like Charles Seneca, 50 Years in the Church of Rome, the Jesuits killing Abraham Lincoln, all of that was put out by Chick Publications back in the early 80s. So that's all they're doing is taking that data that has been part of Alberto Rivera's portfolio that Jack Chick brought out when Rivera claimed to be the ex-Jesuit priest that was smuggled out of Spain, and then Jack Chick, the publisher in California, began to put out all those little cartoon tracks about Alberto Rivera. Like so they're not giving you no new data. It's not like that Eric John Phelps originated that book on his own. He got most 80% of that book is taken right out of Chick publication.
Yeah, well.
Secret History of the Jesuits. I've read every one of the books. Vietnam, Why Did We Go? Able Manhattan.
Yeah. There you go. Yep.
But what they do is they try to act like...
My music is here, and we got to take our final break here. So we'll all be back in a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on satellite, internet, or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
All right, we are back for another A final segment on this Friday night. Yes, if you're listening on Friday night, this is live. And I have with me Philip from Dallas co-hosting with me today. And we were talking about Vatican assassins and a bunch of other things. So, what say you, Philip?
Well, since I am, and since I did sing in Dealey's Plaza for the last 20 years, I do want to share with you some information. The thing that really gets to me about Eric John Phelps, there is some accuracy in Vatican assassins. Let me give you an example where he's completely accurate. Yes, Cardinal Spellman did ordered the hit on him. Kennedy hated Spellman. Spellman did put the hit on him. It was also capitulated through T. Kylie Gorman, the way Eric John Phelps says, which was the Archbishop here in Dallas in 1963. That is true. The John Birch Society was involved in the Kennedy assassination. They are part of the Jesuit order. So that's the thing about Eric John Phelps that causes people to really get confused about him, because he is deadly accurate about a lot of stuff. There is no doubt that T. Kylie Gorman, the Archbishop of Dallas, knew that Kennedy was going to be killed. He also was told by Cardinal Spellman. Spellman did, like Eric John Phelps said, it is true that Zapruder was a hired CIA agent that was standing, that took the picture of Kennedy, where it elevated it up, where they could not show Bill Greer turning around firing the shot. So we do know that Abraham Zapruder was a CIA asset, like Eric John Phelps says in the book. So that is what's so scary about him. He is so deadly accurate. It's a little bit like what Johnny says. Johnny, I agree. Johnny said it was Eric John Phelps that set me free, and first opened my eyes to the Vatican. But then Johnny began to be suspicious that he was one of them, and I thought that was very profound that he told you that. But yet, what Eric John Phelps does say in Vatican Assassins is the very thing that Jim Garrison said too in 1967 on the Johnny Carson show, that the driver was involved and that there was a shooter in the storm drain also. And Johnny Carson looked at Jim Garrison, the attorney from New Orleans, and Johnny said, "Jim, what have you been smoking?" And he was completely demonized. The Jim Garrison guy that was played by Kevin Costner in the movie JFK, Garrison was telling a lot of this forensic evidence back in 1967. So what I'm doing is I'm giving you an encore of what has taken place that I know from an inside source of living in Dallas all my life. Because Mom and Daddy moved here in 1966. So all these people, I remember all of my dad and everybody talking about LBJ being involved, H.L. Hunt being involved. All of that was very common language whenever I was a little boy, the way they would talk about the Kennedy assassination. So it was not this theory that Oswald shot Kennedy, because I've been in Dallas all my life. And I've known all the people. I even know Bill Newman. You know Bill Newman, the guy that was covered his little boys, the famous Life magazine picture where Bill Newman is sheltering the two little boys.
I don't even know who Bill Newman is.
Bill Newman was on the picture on the grassy knoll that when the shots were fired, he hit the ground, and Life magazine was taking the picture of him and his wife shielding his two little boys from getting shot.
Okay. No, I didn't know that. I never even heard that.
Okay, yeah. Bill told me there were bullets that I know Bill. I know all the characters that were involved in Dealey's Plaza because I met them all. I even know the guy that was cuffed, what's his name, that was cuffed to Oswald when Ruby shot him. And without a doubt.
I was 9 years old then. I didn't know anybody.
Well, let me tell you this.
Okay.
Well, that's true. I was 2 years old. Without a doubt, when I grew up, Gene Hill was my cousin's elementary school teacher at Blanton, and Gene Hill was the one that told the FBI that shots were fired in the limousine. And the FBI said, no, you know the two ladies that were on the other side that took the pictures. You had Abraham Zapruder that was up on the grassy knoll that took the fatal headshot picture, but you had the other two pictures, which was Mary Mormon and Gene Hill that was on the other side of the street. She testified that a shot was fired in the limousine.
Yep.
Authenticating what's his name was saying, Bill Cooper.
Yeah.
And I literally thought he was insane when he said it until I got down there. And I talked to people that did know Gene Hill and Mary Mormon, and the FBI threatened Mary Mormon and Gene Hill, you shut your mouth. There was not a shot fired inside the limousine. So Eric John Phelps is correct objectively about a lot of that stuff in Vatican Assassins about.
Yeah, of course he is.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't doubt that.
Okay, so that's what confuses me and what confuses Johnny is how could he be so accurate and then turn around and be such an idiot when it comes to this white supremacy, white Baptist Calvinism, and that God wants to keep the races separated.
Yeah, and not only that, buy into the flat earth. Add the flat earth to that, and you've got it all wrapped up.
Well, okay. So the question of it is, Johnny thinks he has to be a Jesuit to be that much of a genius.
Yeah.
How can he be that accurate with all of that stuff that is true?
Did he write that book all by himself?
Boy, I don't know.
Or was there a team? There's a team, I believe, that writes a lot of these books. You know, it's like the late great Planet Earth. You know, that's definitely a Jesuit project. Come on.
So, in other words, you think that it might have been his higher ups there in Pennsylvania that helped him write that Vatican Assassins to put out the data?
Absolutely. Can you name a book he's written since then?
Well, you know that.
And any sane person would have wrote 10 books instead of that one, if they were really writing it themselves. No one's going. I got to do this 10-inch volume of, you know. No, any person writing by themselves would write enough that was enough for 10 different books.
Well, you know, I've known all the conspiracy experts, and I'll be really honest with you. Eric John Phelps is spot on with the Kennedy assassination because I know Robert Groden. See, I think he's more accurate than Robert is. Robert says the fatal headshot was fired behind the fence. I don't agree. I agree with Eric John Phelps.
Oh, it came from the front seat. Yeah, it came from the driver. That's where it came from.
That's exactly right.
The driver shot him in the head and blew out the back of his head.
Right. And then, of course, Jim Garrison said that there was also a shooter in the storm drain, too. Eric John Phelps said there was also a shooter in the storm drain.
Yeah.
Well, so Bill Cooper said that, and so did Jim Garrison in 1967. And if I say that, Robert will get mad at me. He'll say, well, you're an idiot. Robert will say, that's not true. I disagree with Robert on that. I do think that there was a shooter because there's a tunnel. When you come to Dallas, we're going to go down to Dealey's Plaza together. So when you get to Dallas, I'm going to take you down to Dealey's Plaza, and I want to show you when we get behind the fence how you can walk through the tunnel behind the fence into the storm drain from behind the fence in the parking lot. I mean, and so.
I believe I already. Yeah, you don't have to prove that to me. I already know that's a thing, man. And the Jesuits would know all that too.
Okay, so here's the thing. He is very, very accurate concerning the Kennedy assassination. Very, very scary. I mean, he is by far the most accurate of all the people that have given a forensic evaluation of anybody that I've ever heard of.
Yeah,
and I'm talking about Eric.
Yeah, well, because you know who has all these records, don't you? That they won't turn over to the public. Remember, they're supposed to. What was it? 50 years. They were supposed to keep it sealed for 50 years. Trump was in office, and some reason they didn't get unsealed. But see,
but do you know the story about H.L. Hunt and Clint Murchison and all the people that conspired to be in the house the night before the assassination? That's true. Nixon was there, J. Edgar Hoover. All of that did transpire the way that Eric John Phelps said. That LBJ was there, H.L. Hunt was there. They were all there in the Murchison house.
And now, how would Eric John Phelps get this inside information?
It beats the crud out of me.
Well,
because I don't know how I got it. Because the reason why I know it is because I know all the people that were involved in the whole Kennedy assassination because I've lived in Dallas all my life. And so it astonished me when I read Vatican Assassins. I mean, he's deadly accurate. H.L. Hunt was involved. J. Edgar Hoover was here.
Well, you know, we've learned more about the Jesuits from the Jesuits than anybody else. So it's not surprising at all. Malachi Martin, you know.
Okay, what about Greg Anthony? Zerucci, he is sort of a funky character, this Greg Anthony guy. I've listened to Greg Anthony a lot.
Yeah, well, Greg Anthony's done. He was going to come back, but he can't. He just can't come back.
Well, what do you? Well, Johnny thinks that he's a shill. Do you agree with Johnny on that?
No, he's not.
Yeah, okay. So you think Johnny gets too exaggerated?
Yeah, Greg Anthony's definitely not a shill.
Okay,
yeah.
So you believe all the stories that he lived in Rome, all the stuff that he has.
Oh yeah, he did. He did all that. That's all true. That's not made up stuff. Yeah.
Well, and I know that we chased rabbits and jumped all over this place, but I'm going to be very honest with you. I think you and I are the best on talk radio right now. I don't think that hands down nobody can touch us because you and I have got 80 years of experience. We've both been in the ministry. I've been an evangelist for over 40 years. I live here in Dallas. There's nobody that can touch this radio show now. I don't care if we're getting ratings or not. We are doing a darn great job. We are coming out and we are sitting here playing ping pong with one another. And what we're doing, we are being completely accurate about everything that they won't say because they're all disinformation rats. Alex will give you a little bit. Tex Mars will give you a little bit. In other words, they all give you bits and pieces, but they don't really come out and tell you the facts of what's really taking place, do you?
Well, even though we have all this truth, most people won't believe it anyway. So I'm used to that. Yeah.
Well, so okay, so let's. I know I'm going to try to wind it up because I'll do. If you want me to do a show, I'll do it. I'll do a monologue if you want me to. Whatever you want me to do, because as far as I'm concerned, I feel like
I got an hour opening up, and if you want to take it, I'll let you have it.
All right.
And I'd still like to have you on, a couple hours a week on my broadcast so we can kick some things around.
Well, the only thing I'm worried about is that my house is already burned down once. You don't think they're going to send the drone on me again to try to burn me down twice, do you?
Nah. No, I don't think they're going to worry about you.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you really think that Jesuits would do things like send drones to kill us in the near future? Do you really think that they might carry out that kind of crap?
No, I think that they've shadow banned and and they've relegated us, or at least me, to the wilderness. In a manner of, in a biblical manner of speaking, so they're not too worried about me or what I'm doing.
Okay, well, let me say this to you.
They got a hand on it.
I think you and I are better than. Look, I know once I polish up my communication skills, hands down, nobody's going to touch me because I've been a full-time evangelist for 40 years anyway, including Scott can't touch me, even though Scott's great. It's just that I haven't been polished. But I will tell you this right now. I do not believe I don't believe that anybody's going to be better than what we got the way we're about to upgrade First Amendment Radio. My thing is, I like David Knight. I like David and all that, but I really don't know. He's sort of a shady character too. I almost think he's Merlin Olsen that used to be the announcer for the Super Bowls. He reminds me of a Merlin Olsen quote. He does. He sounds just like Merlin Olsen back when Merlin Olsen was called a play-by-play.
Well,
but I don't really know. He doesn't really come right out. You don't ever hear him really. Why doesn't he talk about the Jesuits? Why does it? Okay, all he likes to do is bash Alex. It almost like he's got a vendetta to do nothing but go on Rumble and bash Alex Jones.
Yeah.
It's the hate Trump and the bash Alex crap.
Yeah.
That's all he says every day.
That gets old quick, but he has enough other materials and things that he covers that, that's just a small part of what he does. It does get old. He's doing less of the anger thing because a lot of people started complaining. And I heard him say the other day, he was talking about, I never get a break because, they're some of his subscription people that are sending him money, they get unsubscribed and stuff. He says, I can't get a break. And all I thought was, Alex, you got your break. Your break was InfoWars. And now you're out here doing your best to alienate 90% of your audience because they're Trump supporters. Going, you got your break. What? You got your break, man. You don't know what it means to never get a break. That's my line.
Well, but let me share this with you.
Go ahead.
Where I agree with him, I do not believe in Donald Trump. He brought about Operation Warp Speed. He and my sister, if I say anything,
you know what? I don't believe that he masterminded anything. I think he's a useful idiot. I don't think he masterminded any of that stuff. He's just a dupe. And his ego is so big that he can't even accept what he done. I think Donald Trump is exactly what he appears to be and nothing else.
Don't you think, though, that he just plays stupid? That Trump is not as stupid as he tries to act like he is? See, to me, when he went into office, he liked playing stupid. And my sister bought into it. I never did think he was stupid. I never did like him. I didn't like him whenever he owned the New Jersey Generals. But to me,
well, I didn't like him when he was on the TV firing people in the Apprentice. I saw him for what he was.
I know, I agree.
An ungodly, unregenerate man who loves money and loves the world, and that's what he still is.
So he's just a total narcissistic clown, is what you're saying.
Pretty much, yeah. He's transparent. He is exactly what you see is exactly what you get, and he was very useful.
Well, let me ask you this. So, to me, you and I both agree that he's as Machiavellian as Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin. And I don't understand why all these stupid conservative Christians, like my family members, they think that he's the Messiah. I mean, all these Make America Great people are they?
No, I think there's a percentage of those people that are out of their minds. But I think 70 to 80% of those people, they know what's going on. They look at Trump as like you would look at it, like a Jew would look at Cyrus. Okay, that this is the best we're going to get as far as leadership for this nation. He's the devil, we know, and we know what he's done. He's done some good things, and we would rather have him than Joe Biden or Kennedy. He's the lesser of three evils.
By the way, I wanted to mention this to you before we close down. How many more minutes do we have? Because I just enjoy it.
We got about 5 minutes left.
Okay. Well, we flow. This show goes, when you know that we're good? When the show goes by and we're not bored. We're good if we don't bore each other. I've always known that a person said that if you're not bored with it, they're going to like it. An entertainer once told me, if you can do Elvis and you're not bored, if you like the music, they're going to like the music. We are good. I'm not going to lie to you. We're really good at this.
Okay.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Yeah, we have 4 minutes.
Okay. Do you agree? I was blown away that F. Tupper Saucy, that the family said that James Earl Ray did not kill Martin Luther King Jr. and that James Earl Ray approached F. Tupper Saucy to write his affidavit or to write the book, how that he was set up.
Yeah, I had
heard that. Did that blow you?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, I had heard that.
Did that blow you away that James Earl Ray had approached F. Tupper Saucy to write his book? Or did F. Tupper Saucy write the book of how that James Earl Ray was framed of the killing of Martin Luther King?
Well, that's getting pretty deep, and we don't have time to cover that
much
material. So
no, I know, but so you're aware of that?
Yeah, I am aware of that. Yeah.
Well, okay. Then what I'll do, I'll stay in standby, and I'll make myself expendable for you. The only thing of it is, I wonder how that is there any way that we can get any income coming into us?
Well, I work on that all the time. I'm writing books. I'm doing Audible, and I have other things on my ranch that I do to help support the broadcast. I do other work.
Well,
I worked all day today.
Well, if there's any way that I can get a love offering to survive, I'll be glad to go full time with this stuff. See, my only income would be to play Elvis.
Yeah.
Because that's all I've done is
I would. Yeah. So we got about 2 minutes left. So
anyway,
we'll have to talk, and
all right.
Yeah, and see.
All right. When do you want me to contact you again?
Well, you can leave a message here. I won't see it right away usually, but right away. Yeah. Well, not tonight.
Well,
I'm done for the night.
No, I'm just saying. Okay, yeah, I'll text you, and then you can tell me when you want to get back together again, and then I've got Scott. Scott will be flying in, and we'll just see what we're going to do with him.
Okay. All right. Well, send me some links to Scott stuff, or he's got to have some stuff on YouTube or somewhere that I can take a look at.
He's got a whole website.
Okay, yeah. Well, don't talk about it now. Just send it to me, okay?
All right. I have to figure out how to do it.
Why don't you say goodbye to everybody and, make
I love y'all. Everybody in the family of First Amendment Radio, we're all family, and y'all have a wonderful night tonight.
All right. All right. Thank you, Philip.
I'm signing out.
It's good to talk to you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
All right. Okay. Yes. It is at the end of the broadcast. You're listening to Nick at Night, and that I am Nicholas, and this is Far Out, First Amendment Radio. We'll be signing off. It's a final live broadcast or original broadcast for the day in a minute here. I want to thank everybody for showing up. Comments, questions are welcome anytime. You can text this number anytime, day or night. Doesn't mean I'll see it, but immediately when you text it, but I will catch it later and get back to you if that's appropriate. So I want to thank everybody for showing up. Make sure that you tell everyone about First Amendment Radio and get FirstAmendmentRadio.net /Moby on your smartphone or stupid phone or however you look at it, and listen to First Amendment Radio all day long when you're at work or working in your garden or whatever, you're jogging or riding your bike or just need some good edification. You can hook up with the programs there. All of our podcasts are there, so you can listen to some good teaching, good Reformed teaching we have there all the time. And we also do need your support. We have very little support for this network and the programs that we bring here. So make sure you like and share this video before you sign off for the night. All right, I think I'm out of time. Yeah, let's see. Frozen. Yes, indeed.
Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
Secrets of the Rapture. Is there a 500-year-old conspiracy? A propaganda machine so pervasive and entrenched, yet so elusive that the entire world could be taken in by it, working in plain sight?
American Family News, I'm Robert Thornton. President Joe Biden is giving himself a pat on the back after today's job report for the month of April. With today's report of 175,000 new jobs, Biden said the great American comeback continues. Still, critics point out that expectations for April were around 240,000 jobs. Meanwhile, revisions show the last 2 months were